One of the biggest challenges that business owners face is how do I transition from me at work running this company that maybe I started to transitioning into retirement, moving into that period of time where I have the money that I take from the sale of the business, make money for me, and provide a retirement income. I'm joined here today by Anne Sawasky, and Anne works with us in helping people value the company, number one. That's one of the jobs. Is, you know, you've done that for how many years now?
12 years.
So did you also help them sell the companies as well? So typically who buys companies from a business owner?
It varies, but it could be a private equity firm, it could be a competitor, it could be somebody being laid off from corporate America who wants to buy a job.
I noticed that you didn't say necessarily the employee of a company.
Right.
Why would it be that maybe employees might not buy the company from the owner?
The employees could buy the company, but I don't see it very often because the employers usually don't want it known that the company's for sale. Confidentiality is key. They're worried about employees leaving. They're worried about
Losing customers, I would think.
Customers, banks calling loans, vendors not wanting to work with them. There's a lot of reasons that they get very hesitant to even let the employees know.
Yeah, that makes an awful lot of sense. So, baby boomers, I would assume, are going to be selling a lot of business because getting older.
Right.
Now, what percentage, do they have any idea how many different companies or how many companies might be on the block over the coming years?
Well, they're saying 65 to 75% of all businesses will be sold in the next 5 to 10 years because most of them are owned by baby boomers.
Wow, so you got a lot of competition out there when it comes to selling a business because you got to find a buyer.
Right.
Now, question. As far as buyers go, you know, this sounds like a process to me that you're going to have several years of preparation. Typically, how many years before a baby boomer in this case, or anybody selling a business, how many years before they want that sale to take place do they need to start this planning process?
We would typically start working with people in their 40s and early 50s.
Wow.
Because the sooner the better, so that you can know what it's worth, determine whether that's going to be adequate for your needs, and if it's not adequate, what do I need to do to get it to where it will be adequate, and better prepare it for marketability, because only about 1/3 of businesses sell.
So yeah, and just makes me think about an employer runs a company, maybe has a lot of employees that have their money in a 401k plan, so they're really diversified. So I'm just thinking that employer typically has a lot of their wealth built up in that company, and you're saying that there's a good shot that they may not even be able to sell that company. That's got to be a scary prospect.
It is scary because employers typically are relying on the sale of their business to fund their retirement, which is why it's so important to plan ahead and make sure that you're doing everything you can to make it the most marketable, the most valuable, and the easiest to sell so that you'll have those funds available.
So you have different valuation methods that you've used. And typically, how many different valuation, and did you typically find yourself leaning on one valuation method versus another, or was there?
It really depends on the type of industry. There's different methods for different industries, so it would just vary.
Yeah, based on what type of a company that you're dealing with. Okay, so one question, you know, we kind of covered how many years before, but when we're dealing with an employer that's looking at selling the company, did they typically work in the business for a certain period of time before actually leaving altogether?
There's always going to be a period where the owner stays on after sale to help with the transition, and it could be as little as a month. But it could be 3 years, depending again on the deal and how important it is for that owner to maintain
The customer relationships.
Yes.
I would assume that would be a big deal, wouldn't it? And then also help with the transition with the employees, I would think as well. You know, the new employer, you're dealing with making sure that the employees stay on board, that they're taken care of.
Right.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're doing in this whole process is not only working with these company owners and determining how sellable their companies are, valuations, those sort of things. We're doing initial consultations with business owners. So if you're interested in this, give us a call, 615-851-1950. Part of the process is sitting down, looking at what kind of company you have, what the prospects are for the sale, and what the process might look like for you, because each person's going to be a little bit different. But the other part of the process, not only the valuation of the company and how to sell the company and getting you prepared for that process, but we're also walking people through, now you've sold this company, you got this money, how do you take an income? Now luckily, there is 50, 60 years of academic research on investing that tells us exactly how do you take an income from an investment portfolio. What are the expenses? How do you minimize those expenses? What are some of the games that the investment industry plays that you need to know about? Because this is your livelihood, your income for the rest of your life, and you may be in retirement as many years as you worked. So if you want to find out more, give us a call, 615-851-1950. You can check out the website right here and look around more. It is paulwinkler.net. And Anne, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.